This is the next video in the Historic Ordnance series. I am going back to Yugoslavia to an extremely common mine that was used during the Bosnian Civil War. And the reason I am covering this is that it's a lot more common around the world than I thought. What you see in the picture there is a Yugoslavian PROM, P-R-O-M-1 bounding fragmentation mine. It looks like these entered service sometime in the 1960s. They are OD green in color, cast iron body, yellow markings as you see here. The shape is really distinctive. It looks like a bottle with a fuse sticking off the top of it. That's the easiest way I always had for identifying it. Now the height of the mine with no fuse, so up to this point here, is 10¼ inches. The diameter is 3 inches. Total weight is 6 2/3 pounds, of which an explosive charge of TNT and RDX weighs about 15 ounces. Now the fuse for this is the PROM-1, or you can use the PMR3. Now if you watched the PMR3 video, you're already aware that those two fuses are essentially the same. There's not a hell of a lot of difference between the two of them. And this is a picture of the PROM-1 fuse. Now each mine comes with 2 rolls of tripwire, and each roll of tripwire is about 16 meters long. Now when these mines are activated, they detonate about 1 meter above the ground when it reaches the end of the tether wire, which is connected to the heavy steel base. So these go off at waist height. That is very common with former comm block mines for their bounding fragmentations. These are usually set in with a tripwire up to a length of about 6 meters. They can go farther than that, but 6 meters was kind of the most common that was encountered in Yugoslavia, or the former Yugoslavia. And there is a note from demining agencies that the tripwires and the mines themselves were usually protected with blast mines, low metallic or non-metallic blast mines, such as Russian PMNs, Italian VS-50s, American M14s. It's always amazing how that stuff always seems to appear around the world. And similar mines. There was a note from demining sources that this mine has killed more deminers than any other mine encountered in former war zones when they're trying to clear these mines. And the reason for it is the fuse is just that touchy. It does not take much to set that fuse off. Now the kill radius on these mines when it goes off is 30 meters. The wound radius is up to 100 meters. The operating pressure, downward pressure on the fuse if someone steps on it, is 20 pounds to about 35 pounds. For tripwire, to get it to move to one side or the other to set off the fuse, only needs about 6 to 11 pounds of pressure on the tripwire to set it off. It does not take much. The temperature range for employing these reportedly, and this is from Russian sources on this, is -22 degrees Fahrenheit to a max of 90 degrees Fahrenheit. According to deminers, these mines have been found obviously all across the former Yugoslavia, Angola, Chile, Iraq, Mozambique, Namibia, and also they are being used in Ukraine right now. One of the former Yugoslav republics reportedly sent the Ukrainians a whole lot of these, and they are being used by the Ukrainian military. Now, for employing these mines, and I'll show you pictures here. This mine is sideways. That's not uncommon when the deminers find them, that they could be knocked over because of time. And as you see here, you're not going to notice it's there till you clear the leaves away. And it doesn't take much pressure to the left and right to set the fuse off. Here you see one that's dug down into the ground for pressure use. You're not going to know it's there till you try clearing vegetation away, and you potentially are going to set it off. To put these mines into pressure mode, you will dig a hole for the mine to just below the pressure prongs, like in this picture. You're then going to remove a brass plug from the top of the mine, and you're going to screw in the PROM-1 fuse. You're going to put the mine down into hole, backfill it to stabilize it or in the hole as much as possible. You are then going to go back to this one, lift up on the safety bail here to a 90-degree angle so it's perpendicular to the fuse. That will then open up this little safety clamp there so that you can remove it from around the collar. When it's in this locked position, that safety collar is apparently pushed together and it cannot be removed. When you lift this up, it pries the two ends of the safety collar apart to open it up to allow you to pull it out. After you've done that, you can go through, put a little bit more dirt if you want, not too much. Remember, the mine is live and they go off real easy. You add camouflage around it to blend it in so that the enemy is not going to see it when they're moving through that area. To remove it from the ground in pressure mode, first off, you really need to make sure you have the exact location where it's at. Gently clear the vegetation away from around the mine, working your way towards it. When you locate the mine, clear out underneath the pressure prongs without touching them. You're going to reinstall the safety collar to at least get it in position. You're then going to dig around the fuse going down, and then once you're all the way down to the mine or close enough to it, you're going to flip that bail down if possible. You will then grab it lower on the fuse here and hopefully be able to lift it up out of the hole. Then for sure you will flip that bail down if you haven't already. Remove the fuse from the mine, and if you have the brass shipping plug, you will put that back into position on the top of the mine. Turn it in for later use. Now, tripwire mode, like you see up here. You're going to dig a hole for the mine up to somewhere on the fuse here, depending on how high you want the tripwire above the ground. You're then going to remove the blast plug from the mine and screw on the PROM-1 fuse. Put the mine in a hole, fill a little bit of dirt around it to stabilize it. You are then going to go out to the end of where you want your tripwire to go. You're going to put in an anchor stake. You are then going to tie the tripwire to the anchor stake, run it back to the fuse. You are then going to attach the tripwire to the fuse, and you can attach, they say, up to 6 tripwires to the mine, but you got to keep in mind when you put that many in there, all those extra tripwires are going to pretty much stabilize that fuse and keep it from working properly. So usually 2 tripwires is probably going to be the max you're realistically going to see on a bounding fragmentation mine. Now the top of the fuse here, you can see there's a hole here on the top of the shaft, and there can be a little metal ring inside there that you can run the tripwire either through or to, depending on how you want to set it off. Some of the fuses I have seen, not in real life, but pictures back in the 90s, there were holes drilled in the legs or the arms on the top of the fuse that you were supposed to attach the tripwires to. But after you have the tripwire attached and you make sure there's not too much tension on it where it's going to pull the fuse to the side after you take the safety clip out, you want it just a little bit slack. After you got the tripwire or tripwires attached, that is when you're going to go through, lift up on that safety bail, pull the collar off of there. The mine is now armed, and you're going to go through and you're going to camouflage it. Now, how this would be if they booby trapped it, after you ran the tripwire back to the mine, before you would arm the mine, you would go through and you would add booby traps along the where you wanted, in front of or behind the tripwire. If you're going to put the anti-personnel blast mines around the PROM-1 to protect it, well, after you attach the tripwire, you're going to arm the fuse, camouflage it, then you are going to go through and you're going to emplace the blast mines around it. Now, to safe this mine when it's in tripwire mode, you're going to remove it. You need to know where it is, obviously. You're going to go up there, be super cautious, clear the vegetation away. You're going to find the tripwire. You're going to take the safety collar, you're going to put it right here underneath the pressure forks. You're going to slip the safety collar there, and you're going to flip the bail down. You are then going to go down the length of the tripwire to make sure nothing's been tied in on the other end. If you know or suspect there may be mines around the tripwire, you're going to check for those as you're sweeping your way down to the anchor point. Confirm that nothing is on the end of the tripwire, no booby traps. You will then go back to the mine. You will disconnect the tripwire from the mine. You will remove the mine from the hole. You will then unscrew the fuse from the mine, reinstall the shipping plug back in the mine if you have it. You're going to put it in a location that you know where it's at, you can see it. You will then go through, remove the tripwire and anchor. If there's any other mines that you haven't gotten to yet because the tripwire was blocking it, you will then go to those secondary mines, remove them also, and as those mines are cleared, they get put over by the PROM-1 and its fuse. And then when the mission is complete, turn all those in for reuse or destruction. So there you go. The Yugoslavian PROM-1. This is a nasty little bugger. It's killed a lot of people. And it's a lot more common around the world than I ever thought it would be. It is being used in Ukraine right now. So it's a guarantee that a lot of these have ended up on the international arms black market. So this is a mine you do need to be aware of and know how to recognize it if you ever come across it. Now, for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot Militia movements, always remember, essayons.